One of the first mutants introduced in comics, Bobby Drake, aka Iceman, is one of the most powerful mutants in the publisher. He is one of the rare Omega level mutants, and his power mainly revolves around the creation and manipulation of ice. But a character of his caliber wouldn't just stick to the basics of his abilities. His control over power is truly godlike, capable of putting the earth beneath his feet if he chooses. So today, let's explore everything this character can do with a power as versatile and creative as his. Organic Ice Form. This was the character's first power, and the one he uses the most, so it will be the first on the list here. Initially, Bobby could only use his powers by entering his ice form, which wasn't even refined and made him look like a snowman. Later, he realized that he wasn't just covered in ice, he actually became ice on his own. Flexible, organic ice. Now, with more control over his powers, he can use his abilities without assuming this form, even regenerating while human. He can completely transform into water rather than ice, and even reshape his entire body into vapor form. However, reshaping his body in this way causes significant mental strain for the character, so it's rarely seen. Ice Manipulation. There isn't much to say here. It's the character's primary power along with his ice transformation, and serves as the origin of all the powers I'll mention in this list. He can manipulate ice in a way that defies measurement, which is why he's classified as an Omega level mutant. His ice abilities are so immense that he's one of the few mutants to have been classified as Omega since the classification was introduced. Many on the list were named by fans until Marvel officially disclosed their Omega status. Bobby is one of the few who remained on both lists and never had his title revoked. Some of his greatest feats include nearly freezing reality, freezing a nuclear reactor that was exploding, and generating ice blasts at the speed of light. Climate Manipulation. The character is not limited to just manipulating the weather around him. After all, he is an Omega level mutant and his power knows no bounds. Bobby has stated that using his powers, he could bring a new ice age to planet Earth, making him at least a global threat. Additionally, he is often seen creating rain clouds and using them to bring down ice on his opponents. Not to mention the fact that he managed to freeze a part of an infernal dimension, which is still a form of climate manipulation. However, his ice is limited by the moisture in the environment, so in Hell, he only froze an isolated area, and was exhausted as a result. Clone Generation. Another power frequently used by the hero, often linked with weather manipulation, is Clone Generation. This is one of Iceman's primary weapons, as having an advantage in numbers can be crucial in determining victory or defeat in battle. His clones typically lack consciousness, entirely controlled by him, although in one version of his future, one of his clones became completely independent from him. He can transfer his mind into these clones, allowing him to rebuild his body through them. He can create clones that resemble him or even ones of gigantic sizes. Using rain from his weather manipulation, he can literally rain down an army of clones as water falls. Water Manipulation. Well, ice is water, so it's natural that the character can manipulate it too, right? Generally, the character isn't seen manipulating water by itself, like creating waves or acting like a waterbender from the Avatar world. For example, he can use his control over water molecules within himself to grow in size. Essentially, he takes water from the environment, breaks down molecules in his body, combines them with the water, and grows to a colossal size. He can use this to create ice golems the size of buildings and entire mountains, as he's often seen doing. Another power, which is actually a subcategory of his water manipulation, is the ability to teleport, albeit in a more limited manner. Instead of disintegrating and merging his molecules with the environment, he breaks them apart and reassembles them in another location with enough water or moisture. Another ability that I highly doubt will be shown again, but I have to mention, is his capability to transform ordinary water into holy water. How he does this? I don't know, but it's effective against demons and vampires. Cryokinetic Perception. The villain Apocalypse has stated that Omega level mutants tend to awaken a certain degree of telepathy as a secondary mutation. Bobby's Cryokinetic Perception is almost like that, a unique form of telepathy, something not seen in any other character. He can mirror his consciousness through frozen material and perceive all events occurring within it, a perception of the world that's almost divine. Even some writers intentionally overlook this power, as it would make it nearly impossible to catch him or any of his allies by surprise. Molecular Moisture Conversion. This power doesn't stray far from what I've discussed so far. It's essentially the ability to transform organic material into ice and vice versa. The interesting part of this power is that he can do this with other characters, including his allies. He has demonstrated the ability to transform one of his teammates and teleport them along with him to another destination, performing both bodies at the desired destination. While it's not technically teleportation, the function ends up being the same, and I would say it's as effective as many powers that have teleportation as their base ability. Unfortunately, it is limited to locations with a certain degree of moisture, but on Earth, this means it can go anywhere, even deserts. Cellular Replacement. To conclude this package of sub-powers related to molecular water manipulation, we have Cellular Replacement. Bobby realized he could use his control over moisture in a more refined manner, to a point where he could draw moisture into his body. In doing so, he replaced body cells with water, regenerating his body in the process. He can even rid himself of poisonings by allowing poison molecules in his body to dissipate into vapor and be replaced by water molecules. The molecule replacement, combined with his ability to transfer his mind to a clone, makes him practically immune to physical damage. Metamorphosis. Using the capability I just mentioned about reshaping his own body, Bobby achieved a certain degree of metamorphosis with this. Of course, he's not a shapeshifter like Mystique, who can change appearance and rearrange organs, but using water, he can make his limbs expand, create wings, grow and shrink in size, increase his body mass for strength gain, and modify his ice form. Whether you like it or not, this qualifies as metamorphosis, so it's another power on the Omega level mutants list. I still don't understand to this day how ice wings make someone fly, but you can't expect logic in comics. Thermal vision. Iceman can not only analyze the temperature of his opponent, but also of the opponent as a whole. It may seem like somewhat of a useless power at first glance, but this power prevents him from being attacked by surprise. Not that he can sense any attack coming, but by analyzing the heat in the environment, he knows if someone is hiding and ready to strike. In dark environments, this power is particularly handy because he doesn't rely on any equipment for it. Power suppression. As far as I've researched, not all powers can be disabled by Bobby using his cryokinesis. He can manipulate the ambient temperature to prevent heat exchange, effectively preventing characters who use fire-based powers from activating their abilities. Considering he has demonstrated the ability to alter molecules in other bodies, he is probably capable of disabling other types of powers as well. However, since I haven't found anything that conclusively proves this in my research, it remains more of a potential power for him. Super strength. Typically, characters who manipulate elements tend to fight at long range and are physically weak, but that's not necessarily the case for Iceman. He does possess physical strength, although he's far from being on par with Colossus or someone like the Hulk. Nevertheless, he can use ice to increase his body mass and strength in the process. He has been able to knock down several men at once, and his giant clones have enough strength to bring down buildings. Whether these feats fall under physical strength or ice manipulation is debatable. Furthermore, with the ability to create multiple clones simultaneously, he can handle heavyweights through numerical advantage. Super resistance. Ice is often portrayed as fragile and easy to break, but that's not the case here. In many battles, Iceman has proven to be as resilient as heavyweights focused on brute power. He has faced off against many characters with super strength. However, his resistance varies considerably. In some comics, he is unaffected by gunfire, while in others, he can be. I believe this inconsistency arises because the character can regenerate at will, allowing writers and artists to not worry about his durability feats, as he can always rebuild himself. Nevertheless, he has notable achievements such as enduring explosions, being struck by attacks from Cyclops, and even being burned by Sentinels, all without suffering physical injury. Superhuman Speed. Iceman isn't known for being a speedster, but his speed while gliding on ice and his reaction time are quite impressive. Impressive enough that he can even keep up with and block movements from Spider-Man, one of Marvel's most agile characters. His primary feats are in reaction time, where he can match and sometimes surpass the attacks of Captain America, Scarlet Witch, and Hercules. None of these are excessively fast, but they demonstrate Iceman's good combat processing and reaction time. But these are all the powers that an Omega level mutant like Iceman possesses. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to see more videos about the X-Men universe and help me become the biggest nerd channel on YouTube. I count on you so we can achieve this goal together.